welcome. First of all, we didn't have the chance to welcome you, Professor Phillipe Cupertino Salloum Silva. Professor Cupertino is a professor at the Universidade Estadual de Goiás in Brazil. He is also pursuing his PhD at the University of Federal de Rio de Janeiro. I'm sorry for my pronunciation. And his main research interests are in the area of human rights, legal sociology, legal anthropology, and he's been widely published in those areas. And we're really interested and keen in knowing more about your presentation, the challenges and limits of university activities carried out remotely in times of a pandemic, an analysis of the implementation of the extension course Cinema Rights and Diversity at the Universidade Estadual de Goiás, Brazil. We also have a pre-recording of this presentation, so let's just play it now and come back for questions later.
Hello, my name is Phillipe Cupertino. I'm a professor of law in Universidade Estadual de Goiás, and I am a PhD student in Universidade Federal de Goiás. I research the rights of Gypsy people and try to make an ethnography of Bill 284, try to create the Statute of Gypsy people. So now I would like to share my presentation of my scientific work, the challenges and limits of activities in the pandemic times. I'm trying to analyze the implementation of the extension course Cinema, Rights and Diversity in the Universidade Estadual de Goiás. This extension course Cinema, Rights and Diversity. This is a university activity they intended to discuss themes relevant to important themes relevant to human rights from the language of cinema. So, in the beginning, this course was planned to take place through the 4 face-to-face meetings in which the films would be shown in the discussion after this exhibition with the participants. So, because the pandemic, you have to change this idea because you cannot do anything facing the face. So, the scientific work seeks to present the challenges and limits of the adapting this extension course to the online modality in the view of the advance of the pandemic in Brazil. Right now, you cannot do anything facing to face. We are in the June. So this is the art of publishing the extension course. Is very nice. Can you see? So the research methodology. Research seeks to describe how the experience of implementation the extension course took place and then to present the themes discussed in the 4th section. So the challenges and limits of the implementation the extension course in pandemic times, in times of pandemic. The course was planned to start in March. However, it had to postpone it due to their need for adaptation to the unprecedented online modality. This first time in Brazilian story, you can to change everything in my university as well. We never doing this modality, online modality of extension courses. So it's the first time. It's very hard because you don't have any support. I had to do everything by myself, and then it's very difficult. This extension course had 42 registration people try to participate in this course. However, only 12 people participating had been the meeting in the online meeting. It's frustrated. I think so. Uh, it's important to say the University uh, Estadual de Goiás is a public institution located placed in the heartland city, so a small city, where many students don't have internet or good internet or don't have a technological devices. Again, the same slides. So, the implementation of extension course. We, the course coordinators, sent the full movement and the Google Meet linking before start this course, this season, fourth season, 1 week before. So all our meetings to discuss the movie took place on Friday at 6 p.m. So you got four section, sorry. The first session, the first meeting, we talking about the human race and gender. We talking about the feminism. So the movie tells the story of the black American woman scientist who was instrumental for bringing the USA to the moon. This very special movie, the Hidden Figures. So it's funny because in Brazil this movie has other name, so totally different. So this story is very special because talking about the racism in the science is very important. It's very expensive right now, this time, talking about the racism in our societies. So in the second session, you're talking about the democracy, coloniality, and the constitution by this movie. Where do you will go now? It's Lebanese movie. So this is tell the story about the Lebanese village, which the women were responsible for the maintenance peace, where the countryside was experienced the civil war. So it's very beautiful movie. You could talking about the woman leadership in the Middle East, the coloniality, democracy. So it's I mean my grandmother and my grandfather is from Lebanon. The many Brazilian had this linkage. Many Brazilian have grandmother, grandfather from Lebanon because the civil law. So this very special movie as well. The third section, we're talking about ethnic racial relations and gypsy people. This a special theme for me because I mean research these themes in my PhD. So this movie tells the story of Kaya, the girl, a children, who is crossed several words to save your friends, whose was kidnapped. So it's a special session because you had the presence of guests, four guests, then two leadership uh, from the gypsy community. This is the art of the activity. It's very special. This is a gypsy matriarch, Dona Margarida, Miss Margarida. She share your everything you know about your all culture. This is other guests, special guests, Maria Jane from National Stage Concerts. Is my friend because I'm researching your fight, but it's very special your presentation for us. She live in other province, so it could be close her by online tools. And then our last session, sexuality, culture, and civil military dictatorship in Brazil. You show this movie, Tatuagem, this Brazilian movie, tell a story about the relationship between the artist and a member of army during the Brazilian civil military dictatorship. Then this time in Brazil was criminality the homosexuality. So LGBT was a crime in Brazil in this time. So you also got the special guest, né? This is a research from all the province, né? Very far state in Brazil, né? From Goiás, where I'm talking about. So this experience in implementation of the extension course. Uh, what we can I conclude for this? It's very hard implementation the online course because you cannot be together. So many people could not participate this course because you don't have a good internet or don't have technology in your own home. So anyway, you could bring to us many participation from different states in Brazil could not participate if he was facing the face. So it's very glad. Né? I'm so glad to share this experience because you have to change everything right now. You have to build the new normality in the legal education and try mixed many language, cinema, human rights, uh, try to get all the guests for inside the university, popular guests, leadership is people from gypsy community in Brazil. You have many gypsy people in Brazil, and you have also many movies in Brazil, different movies. You can discuss human rights. So you have to put all together in this experience, try to discuss, try to reflect our reality, the society reality, democracy, coloniality, gypsy rights, as well racism, the fight against racism. The first movie talking about talking about the time the racism in USA, so so hard right now. So I would like to say I'm so glad to be here. So thank you for this opportunity to share the legal education experience from Brazil. Brazil right now is on the difficulty in the hard times, in this pandemic. So I hope everyone is nice, is good right now, and see you the next opportunity.
Okay, um, we are back in real time. Thank you, Professor Cupertino, for this presentation that has many different interesting aspects. Let me just welcome you. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. I hope you too.
And what time is it in Brazil?
It's 9 p.m.
Oh,
Oh,
okay.
9 a.m. 9 a.m.
AM, yeah. Okay, that's still feasible. Thank you. Okay, thank you for this presentation. Very, very interesting. And I would say I would like to take that course. There wasn't a course on cinema and rights when I was in law school. So that really looks very interesting. We're not receiving questions right now. What I'm going to do, I'm going to ask my fellow panelists, Professor Prasad and Professor Sanchez, if you have any questions or comments on this presentation, or you want to add something while we wait for our public to come forward. Okay. Any one of you?
All right, it's better.
Congratulations. I really enjoy your presentation. Thank you. Thank you for sharing your experience. I was wondering what percentage of your students were able to transit from regular education to distance learning during the pandemic. What percentage of them?
I don't know exactly how many students could take this technology, but I think maybe half percent of the students has a good internet and the equipment like a tablet, computer, because I'm learning the heartland of Brazil. It's not a big city; it's a small city. Because the growing of the university on the last 10 years because of political progress in Brazil, but also you don't have many students with the tools with the good internet. That's why you lost maybe many students to this implementation of the extension course. But I have to say in the law course, in the law students have more money and good condition, different than other students in our university. But I'm not only law student, law professional. I teach for different courses like history, pedagogy. So these students, especially history and education, have more difficult than law students. I have to say this. This course treats about the human rights. So sometimes the law students don't matter about the human rights. Wanna know about civil law, constitutional law. That's why you have few students, participation this course. But that was nice experience because you could bring many people from different parts of Brazil, so far, and leadership, like gypsy leadership, my friend of mine, she could come as to participate in this experience, maybe because of the money to bring her is maybe impossible in all the time. So there's a contradiction. I don't know if I could say exactly, but this is the contradiction. Some students could participate, but other people from other part of Brazil could come with us. In two sections, you could bring special guests from all the state, all the province from Brazil.
Okay, sure. And that is, in a way, it's easier when we are online. Just let's think about this panel. We are based. I'm based in Hong Kong. We have Mexico. We have India. We have Brazil. And somehow we probably have public from many other places. And we can be together in a way that is, on the one hand, cheap
Yes.
and sustainable as well for the environment. So it's not sure. All bad. I'm gonna, Professor Prasad, do you have any questions?
Yeah. So I think it could be to all of as a panel generally, and just would like to know how far I think there could be repositories, digital repositories, because as I was also interested to know that is there any existing mechanism in Latin America or in Europe how the digital repositories are being made accessible to students in to cope up with the problem of digital divide or access to internet, so that they can download it and watch it later, or they can actually use it in a much more accessible manner. So, is there anything which we have an example or a best practice model as of now?
So I think this is one good practice, because you can manage, try to improve, our communication this time. Is everything is so new. You you could not think about this situation 1 year ago. So you have to put together all this experience to try to improve this methodology way to learn, because maybe in 2 years you have to keep this situation on distance, because you don't have any perspective of better, get better. It's so hard to say this. In Brazil, you are in the worst time right now. Many people is dying. How I lost people from my family as well. Is is not good. It's not good times for me, for my family, for many student families as well. So how can you work this place? How can you work in this time if you lost people? But you have to work. You have to carry on anyway, and try to get this situation to make a fights, make fights for the right education, right internet, universal rights. And this situation have to be a moment to fight for the better world, the democracy world. In Brazil, you have a government not so how can you say how can I say democracy wings, but this situation can be the if it, whatever you can fight for other words, then maybe uh, can be so distant this word, but you have to start some place, né? Sometime you have to start this fights, né? Então, so I appreciate so much the presentation of the Afonso, because you could see the panoramic of the internet in Latin America. Brazil in the middle, but still have many difficulties. Good internet equipments, only 0.5% of the population has a mobile, a good mobile smartphone. If many students of mine don't have a computer or notebook in home, so how can you can learn in this situation if your students don't have a computer or good internet? So you have to take this and becoming fights. I fight for human rights, for democracy, for other kind of education. And this situation maybe be a pedagogic, né, for us. Né? Boaventura Souza Santos from Portugal wrote the book a few months ago, the hard pedagogy of the pandemic. The, is very important. You learn something in the situation to become the better worker, better worker.
Yeah, that's true. We tried in this panel to really focus on the lesson learned, and somehow we focused on internet access. But as you mentioned, these are difficult times on so many different levels, and we would probably need, I don't know, 10 panels to address the psychological and sociological and economical aspects of it. We have a question from Professor Hamed Mohamed Mikhail that I think it's a nice way for us to discuss in the last 2 minutes of this panel. I think it's for all of us. Can we say it is high time we forced our governments to provide internet facility to students and university as a matter of course? I think, yeah, we can just answer with a yes, because there's really no other way of guaranteeing education in this time of crisis. And of course, there is also much more that governments should do, but at least this, to allow our students to access the infrastructure and be there. And I was very pleased to learn that in Mexico, the right to internet is included in the constitution. I didn't know that, and I think this is really kind of the way forward that we should try to go. And of course, implementation is important, but also recognition in the first place.